What is up, y'all? We're back again with another NBA offseason video, and honestly I think it's time to do our winners and losers because so far it's kind of been dwindling down in terms of the action, and I feel like just based off of all the chaos that we've experienced, there are definitely teams that have solidified themselves as winners of this offseason and teams that are not really in the most ideal scenarios. So without further ado, let's get into it, starting with our losers, because I do want to end this video on a good note, which is on the positives. Oh, and just as a reminder, before I forget, I am including coaching hires and drafting as part of the overall offseason experience. So the first loser I have on this list is the Detroit Pistons. Now to clarify, compared to the other losers I have on this list, Detroit is nowhere near them. They're not in that bad of a situation as them, which I guess we could start with what I liked from their offseason. They had a very strong start, trading 2 seconds for Isaiah Joe. Oh yeah, I can't think of a much better fit to go along with Cade Cunningham, and his contract is still pretty team friendly, so yeah, just the fact that you're getting him for only 2 seconds, again, that's an amazing start. And for the draft, you get Ibuka Okorie. Several talking heads regarding college hoops were stating how much of a fan they were of his shot creation, how much he can prove to be a steal in this draft class. So the fact that you're honestly not giving up that much for him, I would say that's another win in my books. However, that's as far as I can get with what I liked from their offseason, because most of my complaints start from honestly after the draft. Gosh, the noise is so loud out there, I hope it's not a distraction, but my biggest complaint that I have for Detroit is the John Collins signing. I get if you don't want to re-sign Tobias Harris, because even though he was really good in terms of turning your franchise around and helping you during the playoffs, he is getting up there in age and his expiring contract does help a lot in terms of salary cap relief. So I get the perspective of letting him leave. However, to replace him with John Collins, I am not really the biggest fan, and it's mostly because of his defense, but also offensively it can be hit or miss. He can be pretty inconsistent as a 3-point shooter, and in terms of offensive production during the postseason, it's kind of been a while since we've seen some great postseason performances from him. The last time he made the playoffs was in 2023, and honestly the last time I remember him having a good series was in 2021, which I believe was his 3rd year with Atlanta. Sure, there's some enticing potential of utilizing him as a lob threat, but honestly I'm not really sure if that's enough justification to add him to a Pistons squad that is honestly aiming for a championship. I'm not really sure if this was the right move, especially given that Rui Hachimura was still there on the free agency market, and given how low of a contract he signed with the Clippers, I believe it was only 2 years, 28 million. Detroit could have definitely afforded that. Now I'm not saying Rui is any better of a defender than John Collins, I think they're honestly in the same category, but in terms of just 3-point shooting, spacing the floor more for Cade Cunningham, yeah, I'd say he is a much safer bet, and also just a much better playoff performer. So I feel like missing out on Rui and aiming for Collins instead leaves me scratching my head, and also this kind of reminds me of the past free agency they had, where they were coming off of that 44-win season, and sure, there's nothing you can really do about Malik Beasley, but just the fact that they targeted Caris LeVert instead of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, for example, that has ended up hurting them. And it's not like they couldn't afford Nickeil either. When we look at Nickeil's contract and compare it to Caris's, that was seen as not really a great decision in hindsight, and honestly, I can assure you that 90% of the Detroit fan base was not a big fan of this move at all. I know he had some familiarity with JB Bickerstaff, but as we all know, LeVert ended up proving Detroit fans right with just his overall poor performance from this past season and postseason. And ironically enough, that was after a really great move, which was a trade, giving up Fontecchio for Duncan Robinson. So I just want to say that was the first thing that popped up in my mind. You made a great trade and then a really questionable free agency decision not too shortly afterwards. And speaking of Caris LeVert, I mean, the fact that you have to give up 2 seconds to get off of his contract, and all you get in return is Gary Harris and Taurean Prince, yeah, I mean, it's just, I get why they have to move off of Caris, but still, I just have to say it once again, just a really bad free agency signing in hindsight. Now, Taurean Prince, there is some hope he can still give you some efficient catch-and-shoot seasons. He's shown in the past, especially these past couple of seasons, he's shown that he's quite capable of consistently maintaining 40% from the perimeter. However, he is coming off of a pretty gruesome neck injury. I'm not sure how long it will take him to get adjusted and be back. If it doesn't take that long, then great, but considering his age, trying to get yourself reaccustomed to the game off of an injury, that's not really an easy task. Also, that Isaiah Stewart trade, gosh, I just don't like it at all. I get he's injury prone and he didn't perform that well in the playoffs, but he was such a fan favorite. He was literally the embodiment of heart and soul. His shot blocking ability off the bench is so elite, so I feel like you're also losing a lot of that skill set, and only for 3 seconds? Yeah, that's pretty yikes. I don't know, I just felt like he got done dirty. And last but not least, Detroit still has no secondary ball handler. Like sure, you're relying on Jalen Duren to provide some of that, which I guess is another issue. Are they going to bring him back? But regardless of that point, we saw how Duren got stifled by more physical squads. So trying to aim for someone like Trey Murphy, Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, you're not asking them to be the best player available, but just to take some pressure off of Cade's shoulders. But just the fact that you missed out on them, yeah, you're not really in a good spot right now. Again, there'll still be a very good team, and Duren will still improve if assuming they bring him back. But I don't know, man, there's only so much Danis Jenkins can do, and if not Danis for secondary creation, you have Ibuka Okorie, a little bit too risky throwing a rookie in the fire. And also re-signing Kevin Huerter, despite him shooting 30% these past couple seasons, that's a bit questionable. So that's pretty much my whole spiel with this Detroit team. But when we look at these other losers, yeah, they're not looking so bad. The Golden State Warriors, my goodness, their main goal was to pretty much convince LeBron to come over, and for a while it was looking like that was the case because Draymond Green declined his player option. You've had several meetings with LeBron involving Steph and Dray. It was just all about trying to get Anthony Davis. And spoiler alert, Washington was not willing to do that. Honestly, that seemed like an impossible task from the beginning because how will you even make the salaries work? And also, even if you do convince LeBron, there is still the problems with age. I mean, you can ask the Clippers, for example, just how well getting older in an offseason worked for them. So I feel like it's safe to say that AD and LeBron plot is not really going to work in their favor. So when we look at their overall roster left, yeah, they didn't do anything else other than losing Quinton Post, which, yes, I get at that type of deal, 3 years, 30 million, you're totally fine with letting him go. But when you're looking at who's left after making the decision to leave Post, yeah, to say it's not reassuring could be quite the understatement. You re-sign Al Horford, you re-sign Kristaps Porzingis, obviously you're gonna re-sign Draymond Green, and that's it. That's it for your center depth. Al Horford, as much as I love him, I believe he's already in his 40s, if not really close. And I even seen some instances where he couldn't be able to play back-to-backs. Kristaps Porzingis, as much as I love him too, we all know the ordeal with him, very injury prone. And Draymond Green, we all know how impactful he can be when he's locked in, but he's also not only getting up there in age, he's coming off of arguably one of his worst seasons in his career. Just the fact that in some games, the team looked better when he was on the bench, not to mention you also have Gui Santos being a stud and continuing to expand his game. There is some concerns to be had, and also just the fact that this same squad couldn't even reach 40 wins and got eliminated in the play-in, and then you add the fact that they're going to be without Jimmy Butler and Moses Moody for most of next season, it's looking very, very dire. And then my last loser on this list is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Similar to Golden State's case, the only thing they've been able to do is re-sign players and lose some players. I get they're not in the greatest position in terms of money. Still, losing depth pieces like Keon Ellis and Dean Wade, that is pretty brutal. So that's also another concern, and quite possibly biggest one I have is that they are going to run it back with this squad. And yes, it's mostly for the purpose of getting LeBron. I mean, it makes too much sense. And hey, if you want to argue that getting LeBron by himself automatically makes Cleveland a winner, then sure, you can have at it. But even when you consider the possibility of them adding Bron, I'm not really sure how much is going to change things, as crazy as it is to say, because no doubt LeBron will help a lot with some issues, but you do worry about him being 40 plus nowadays. If he's really that final piece to the puzzle of elevating this Cavs team, like getting them over the hump, like if he does, honestly make him the GOAT, because this Cavs team I feel like has already hit their limit. Getting swept in the conference finals, I feel like that's the best we're able to see with this current core. Just the fact that they're not looking to move Mobley or Allen anytime soon. You can also include them being interested in negotiating a multi-year contract with Harden after he opted out of his player option. And the cherry on top, that Donovan Mitchell re-signing, holy overpay. I mean, dude, just that contract overview, honestly, it's made me at a loss for words. The second year of this re-signing, he's making $65 million. The year after that, $70 million. And oh man, we cannot forget about that player option. We can't forget he's going to be 34 by the time that comes around. That player option is $75 million. Yeah, he would be a fool to turn that down. I mean, look, as much as the people love Spida there, how much contributions he has given, that is an insanely risky move. I mean, if you hold on for him for too long in the future, I'm not even sure if you'll get that much value in return. Like, who knows what the future holds for him? It's not really clear how many suitors there will be. There is a high probability that you're stuck with him for more than you would have liked to. I don't know, man. I just don't have any faith in Cleveland's offseason at all. I can even make the statement that they could be the biggest losers of this offseason, even though Golden State has definitely made some quality competition in that department. Now we are transitioning on a brighter note to the positives, the winners. Come on, y'all, we have to end on some goodness. So the first winner I have is the Milwaukee Bucks. Honestly, I'm such a fan of them just starting this new era, starting over. This new chapter is just very relieving. I think that's the best word I can have, mainly because this Giannis debacle was such a headache. But yes, you finally start to move on, and considering the package you get, genuinely, I feel like that's as best as you can get. Is it the best for a Hall of Famer like Giannis? No, but there might not have been any better offers on the market, and compared to other trades, certainly not the worst. I mean, we could just look at the package. Kasparov Jonas, I mean, I'm surprised that Miami included him in the deal. I'm not saying he's going to be an immediate 20 and 10 floor general, but his potential, his driving game, it's still nice. Just seeing how they'll develop him, his playmaking, his three-point shooting, I'm very excited. Khalil Ware too? Yeah man, that could be their big for the future. And how he's gonna be in a new coaching relationship with Coach Jenkins. I know his previous one with Coach Spoelstra wasn't really the best. Maybe that could motivate him for the better. And the draft picks, I mean, unprotected 2031 and 2033. Who knows what's gonna happen? And speaking of picks, man did they nail the draft. I am so excited to watch these young rookies play. The fact you got Braden Burries at 10, I mean, people were expecting him to get a spot earlier to Dallas. And then having a safe pick with Ament in 13, you would absolutely take that. And Coach Jenkins, I mean, if you've seen my previous videos, you would know how much of a fan I am of Coach Jenkins's just overall coaching ability. I mean, we can look at his resume. The fact that he took a young Memphis squad to the playoffs in his second year, that's insanely impressive. And how much better he is compared to Doc Rivers, I mean, honestly, it's like you're with a very toxic ex. And then when you finally break up and move on, you're with the girl of your dreams. You're with the girl that has every possible trait you love. You just know you're gonna be set for those next several years. Maybe I'm being over dramatic, but it does really remind me of that analogy. My next free agency winner is the Phoenix Suns. Contrary to popular belief, I do think the Miles Bridges trade is not that bad. I don't think they want the trade, but he does fill a dire need in the power forward position. I think it will make quite the difference. I think people will be shocked when seeing how he'll be implemented in Coach Ott's system. You get Koa Pete at 30 in the draft. I mean, Koa Pete and Rasheer Fleming, seeing them grow together along with Malowach, oh boy, that is really something special. And the Luke Kennard free agency signing, man, I'm not sure if it's gonna be the biggest steal in free agency, but it is up there. I mean, only 2 years, 13 million? That's phenomenal signing by Brian Gregory. And yet there have been some complaints like, oh, he doesn't take as many 3-point shots as he should, he's way more selective, he does a little bit more driving. But honestly, I'd say that's a perfect fit within Coach Ott's system. Coach Ott places a lot of freedom within specific role players, more driving and ball handling duties, more pick and roll responsibility. Who's to say Luke Kennard cannot do that? He can absolutely fulfill that. And honestly, once again, seeing how many ghost screens Phoenix is implementing, you can't have a much better fit for that type of scheme than Luke Kennard. So while in other teams, it can be a little bit more understandable to criticize Luke Kennard not having as many 3-point shots as he should, I feel like that shouldn't really be the case for Phoenix because I feel like he might not have the highest volume again, but I don't think there's going to be any complaints, especially if Coach Ott challenging him to be more of a ball handler and just playing with more freedom will honestly turn him into a better player. Like that's a benefit that I feel like no one's really talking about. I mean, when you take it at face value, an elite 3-point sniper suddenly gaining the ability to navigate pick and rolls, especially when he has shown flashes of being capable of doing that in his college tenure and early Pistons days, then yeah, it is 100% an A+ fit, A+ signing. And my last free agency winner of this video, the Chicago Bulls. We all know, it's like beating a dead horse at this point. Chicago desperately needed to start over. And they did. New management, new coaching staff. That's the thing. Replacing Billy Donovan, who was the opposite of player development, with Tiago Splitter, that's pretty perfect. I mean, no shot at Donovan, but like literally I cannot recall a single positive moment from his last years with Chicago. I mean, especially this past, oh my goodness, it was literally just drives and threes. No mid-range variety. Imagine Caleb Wilson in Billy Donovan's system. Ugh, yikes, goosebumps. But now with Tiago Splitter, things are looking for the better, and yes, he's not the perfect coach. He certainly has his flaws. I mean, I feel like he doesn't call as many timeouts as he should. There have been several discussions in the Blazers fanbase about his out-of-bounds set plays. But in terms of just developing these guys, 100% Tiago Splitter is the right man for the job. And also, how can I forget Dalen Swain in the draft? I mean, arguably known as the best defender in that draft class. You pretty much received Nicholas Claxton for free in that 3-team deal. I can honestly see the vision. Like, I feel like they're heading more towards a defensive type of mindset. I mean, especially when you look at a lineup of Swain, Boozy Vert, Caleb, Clax, that could be pretty deadly. And also picking up Norman Powell in the free agency with a 2-year deal, like that's not the worst case scenario at all. He can help you avoid the new lottery rules where it punishes the bottom 3 teams. And hey, if he still maintains his all-star for himself, that's even more value to give off and get more draft capital, young prospects whatsoever, you know? I guess the only negative I would have is re-signing Collins to a 2-year contract. I don't think Zach is worth that much, especially with how injury prone he is pretty much his entire career, but honestly, that's such a small negative compared to the overwhelmingly positive Sunday that Chicago has created. I mean, seriously, man. And oh, we cannot forget the fast break play style. Bro, just the pace and how the Bulls will play in transition. Bro, I'm gonna be tuning into way more Bulls games than I would have previously thought. So yeah, overall, those are my free agency winners and losers. Very chaotic offseason, but very fun. That concludes everything. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you guys think that my list is agreeable? Did your favorite team have a really nice offseason? Let me know, and see you next time.